Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Temple Daily Telegram Sports Podcast, the Week 4 edition. Josh Weaver with Daniel Zepeda.
Hello.
And Marcus Hood.
Howdy.
And right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Marcus Hood, who tweeted last week after our podcast that he didn't really say much, so I'm just going to hand it over to you.
You got 35 minutes to fill, so...
Well, all right. Well, there's a lot going on in the world. There's this COVID virus, which we're really going to get into in a little bit because it's a fluid situation, and
it's
some of the games we're talking about tonight, we might not even be playing them Friday night at this point. We already know some cancellations, and Josh, why don't you tell us what those cancellations are?
Sure thing.
The ones we know of so far.
Yes. Cameron Yo will not be hosting Lexington this Friday. That game has been canceled. Bruce Villetti will not be hosting Jewett-Leon Friday. That one has been canceled. And Rosebud Lot and Johnson City LBJ are not going to be playing this Friday. That one was going to be at Coppers Cove, but it also has been canceled, all out of COVID-19 concerns and caution and everything else. We've kind of talked about lightly over the last 3 weeks about it. You know, we've seen teams kind of in other areas of the state cancel games, in other areas of, you know, our Central Texas cancel games, but these have kind of closed in on us a little bit.
We were kind of hoping it would stay away. Yeah, and then there's another game, Lampasas and Chita Spring. That one also has been canceled as well. So 4 games, 3 in our immediate coverage area and 1 on the fringe of our coverage area. All of a sudden, you know, piled up a little bit this week.
And 2 of those were pretty big games, man. I mean, Lampasas and Chita Spring was going to be a lot of people's game of the week, and then they knew early on that was going to be canceled, and I think word came in, I guess, Wednesday about all the others. Cameron, Yo, and Lexington looked like it'd be a good one, and now it's no longer on the table, so...
Yeah, I don't think Cameron was a huge surprise to a lot of us. They canceled practice on Monday just out of precaution. But yeah, the Bruce Villetti and then the Rosebud Lock one definitely kind of coming as a surprise, and, you know, just trying to follow up with those coaches. And yeah, sure enough, everyone's just trying to be very cautious right now. And you hate to see it, but, you know, for the greater good, kind of big picture, you know, it's something that has to be done.
You know, these things were, I mean, inevitable at this point with, you know, how careful everyone has to be, but, you know, I don't see it as a major panic situation. I think a lot of these schools have figured this was going to happen at some point, and, you know, they take the necessary steps to kind of control any type of spread, and you know, they get back to work, because not all the players are going to get it, you know, not all the coaches are going to get it just from, you know, one case or whatever, but, you know, they got to obviously be careful, and, you know, they just kind of move on to the next week, hopefully.
And I believe, Marcus, I think you said a couple weeks ago there was a district that we covered where each team in that district left a final week open. A lot of them did. Yeah. Just in case something like this did happen, which, you know, kind of seemed like a little bit inevitable, but you know, hope for the best, expect the worst kind of situation.
Yeah, I looked at on Johnson City's schedule when we were trying to confirm, you know, some of these cancellations on their schedule. They have that listed week, whatever it is, 11, you know, COVID makeup date.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not going to be a makeup for this game.
It'll be a district, yeah.
Typically, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of these things where there's an overabundance of caution, but you'd rather that happen now in the non-district games and deal with it in district or even playoff time.
For sure, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, if you're going to cancel a game, you do it now. Come district time, they're probably going to have a little more leeway. If a kid comes to school with COVID, you're not going to shut down everything for football, you know. I mean, you might check his exposure, see if any other guys are affected, things like that. But right now, you can still do that, and you probably want to, just to be extra safe.
And all this is happening as Class 5A and 6A schools are having their one and only scrimmages this week. And that's including Temple and Belton, and the 5A, 6A seasons get started next Friday. So, you know, we kind of, you know, figured all this was going to happen, but, you know, once it does, you're kind of like, all right, well, here we go. But I mentioned the scrimmages for Temple and Belton. Temple hosting College Station Friday at 6:30, and Belton is going to Hutto for its scrimmage on Friday. That one's going to be at 7. And then next week, those two teams open up the regular season. Also having scrimmages this week in TAPS, our TAPS team, Central Texas Christian and Holy Trinity Catholic, getting going there as well.
Everybody's back.
Yeah, everybody's back and then not back and
Right.
back again. All right, so let's recap real quick. Week 3 results. Up in 4A land, Lampasas beat Wimberley 57-28, and that was a top 10 clash, right? I think something like that. A couple ranked teams. Salado 61, Stephenville 45, and a high-scoring one there. And then into 3A, Cameron Yo beat Franklin 37-8, Lexington 35-34 over Rockdale. That
one came down to the wire.
yeah. I think Rockdale went for 2 late in the game and it was stopped.
Right.
Went for 2 for the win late in the game and it was stopped. Academy, one of only 3 area teams still unbeaten 3 games in, beat Groesbeck 45-0 last week. Troy 48-6 over Robinson. McGregor 56-35 over Gerald. Rogers picked up its first win in pretty convincing fashion there, 47-12 over Whitney.
Yeah, they needed that one.
I think they were tired of me talking about how good Whitney actually was. But
Yeah.
You know what? No, they're not.
We'll show
And
you.
They got on them quick too. I mean, that game was
Yeah.
mostly over at halftime. And then Bruce Villetti picked up its first win last week, 35-21, and now Bruce Villetti doesn't get to play this week, so no building on that momentum.
Take that win, we're out.
Yeah, Holland, one of our other unbeaten teams, 41-0 over Johnson City. Holland's got a big game coming up Friday night, hopefully. And Rosebud Lot, 60-0 over Waco, Texas win. That's a home school. And then Hubbard held off Moody 20-15. Meridian 7, Bartlett 0, Granger 39, Frost 13, and then in 6-man, Lomita 62, Buckholz 16. So that what was going on there. The other undefeated team we have in the area is Lampasas, also at 3-0. All right, for the games that do remain
For now.
week as of Wednesday night, Lake Belton has its home opener. The Broncos were off last week after splitting their first 2 games. They're hosting Cameron Yo JV at Belton's Tiger Field Thursday for that one. And then moving over to Friday, we have one district game. District 13 2A2, Somerville is at Granger. And the rest, non-district. Hillsboro at Gatesville, Smithville at Gerald, Salado at Mahia, Lago Vista at Academy, Belleville at Rockdale, Franklin at Troy, Rogers at West, Holland at Crawford, Valley Mills at Moody, and Iredell at Buckholz. Idle this week, Bartlett and those other teams who are not playing because of the coronavirus.
Who don't want to be idle this week, but have no choice.
Will have to be. So that's what's on tap. Lago Vista at Academy stands out as a pretty good one. I think Lago Vista is, 2-0? They must have had a game got started late. I think they're only 2-0. But anyway, district foes, it almost seems like every 2 years.
Right.
Not district foes this year, but nice matchup for Academy, which is, that 45-0 victory last week over Groesbeck was pretty impressive.
It was, yeah.
That defense has allowed only 25 points now in all, I believe, in the first 3 games. And then the offense, the score got some help by 2 pick-6 interception returns by Jalen McWilliams.
Yes, that'll help.
But the offense got the run game going, more than 250 yards on the ground there. Which was, I know, something that Chris Lancaster wanted to do. But it was a pretty convincing victory for the Bees out there. Now they get another test at home at John Glover Stadium.
Yeah, I mean,
or this week.
Yeah, I mean, Lago Vista, like you said, they were in that District 10 3A1 last season. I think they ended up getting that 4th spot out of that district, which is no easy task. Troy won it, and then Rockdale and Cameron Yo were right there in front. So, I mean, Lago Vista is coming off a strong year. I saw them play Troy at Troy last year, and for that first half there, they gave Troy a little bit of a run for their money. So it's a quality team. It's going to be a good test for Academy, putting that undefeated record on the line. But yeah, man, that defense. I mean, you said 25 points through 3 games. 15 of that was in the opener against Rogers, and then I think they gave up 10 the next week to Clifton. So I mean, the shutout last week. So I mean, yeah, that defense. I mean, just going by the numbers, it's getting better and better every week.
And for these 2A and 3A teams that we mentioned, these are the last non-district games before they all head into district. So obviously, they want to see things get tightened up and fine-tuned here before the district slate.
I'll make a prediction that after this week, assuming Academy actually plays, Jerry Cephas will have the most passing yards of the teams we cover. Right now he's 3rd with 542, but
that is not outrageous.
Well, let me see what's going on.
But the guys ahead
here.
of him both had their games canceled.
I was going to say, I knew there was a catch to that prediction.
Oh, Marcus.
Safe bet.
So really all he has to do is pass for about 70 yards.
I mean, it's a safe bet, but it makes sense because he does throw a good ball, and he's got some receivers over there.
Yeah, it's good to see
Academy.
It's good to see Academy's passing game really doing well. I mean,
he's really kind of put it together. I know the past couple of years, ever since he was a sophomore, they kind of hoped that he would, turn into the passer that he is. He's always been athletic. He's always been able to hurt defenses with his legs. But I know the coaching staff over there really wanted him to improve as a passer. He did last year. He made a good jump. But now that he's, got that quarterback position solidified for himself, he's got a lot of confidence, and, why shouldn't he?
Yeah, and the Academy, we already knew about kind of those offensive weapons that they had with Mick Williams and Darian Franklin and Cephas and Colin Mraz and
Colin
Mraz. But last week, I mean, they had to turn to Xavier LeBlanc out of the backfield. And he had 90-something yards in his most action that he's seen all season. So, they uncovered another go-to person there.
Yeah, talk about being ready.
Offense. Yeah. Speaking of being ready, Rockdale's going to have to be ready for Belleville in that rushing attack. I saw the Bramers.
Yeah.
Is that whatever you call them? Bramers.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago against Yo, and they had a kid rush for more than 300 yards, and it was a pretty incredible display. And Rockdale, I'm not, we weren't there to cover that one last week against Lexington, but I know that's a game they probably. Well, I know they didn't want to lose.
Right, yeah.
And, another stiff test with Belleville coming in.
Yeah, last week, first off, going back to last week, I mean, Rockdale, obviously, since it's non-district, you can afford to go for those, go for the win type of things and not play for the tie. And, yeah, if you're a coach and you want to see what your kids can do in a situation like that and kind of get them ready if they ever need to be in where they need that 2-point conversion to win it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and the kids want to, the kids go out there, they want to win it. So, yeah, give them the opportunity. I don't fault Rockdale for going for it and losing by a point to Lexington. That's a good Lexington team.
Yeah.
And now we get a good Belleville team coming in, and Rockdale with back-to-back tough tests.
And you really do have to like the aggressiveness there by Campsey and the staff over there. And if you've got the offensive weapons that Rockdale does, I would probably go for a 2 there at the end there. Just showing a lot of faith in your guys. And it didn't happen, but it's non-district, so good learning experience, like you said, and they'll get better for it.
I feel like we've had so many good non-district matchups.
Yeah, there have
year,
been.
I mean, and it continues this week. sometimes you get these and you're like, oh, well, they had us kind of settle to go out and get this game. But, man, I mean, we've already mentioned a couple of them, but Franklin at Troy is obviously another good one. Franklin is another team that they dropped down a division, but, it's super familiar with our area teams.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And Rogers at West, West is another team we've seen in the playoffs against some of our area teams, and that's another good one. And then Holland at Crawford.
That's going to be
3-0 teams.
Man, that's going to be a good one.
That both beat the heck out of their opponents last week. And
Crawford has shut out 2 of their 3 opponents so far this year. And then on the flip side, you've got Holland, who's leading the area in rushing. That new rushing attack, which 3 games in, looks pretty good for a new system. So
Holland's offense averaging 452 yards a game. Its defense is giving up 224. So ranking first and second in those 2 categories.
That's pretty good, right? Yeah, it's not
in our area. Yeah, not bad. Speaking of rankings, Academy's defense that we mentioned earlier is allowing only 209 yards a game. That ranks number 1 in our area as far as our stats go.
Let's quick shout out there to Salado putting up 61 last week, and then I don't remember the exact stats, but Noah Mesher, man, he had a heck of a game, didn't he?
325 yards rushing, somewhere around there.
What, five touchdowns.
There were a lot of big rushing performances last week. The kid from Gerald.
Derek Warren.
He had over 200.
He had a big game. Noah Mesher. Another kid for Salado had like 150. Reed Vincent had a good game. You're always going to have, Zach Rabachik out of Troy. I mean, that guy there. For me, I kind of get worried that Troy's just going to kind of run him into the ground. But I mean, the way that kid, he's the Energizer Bunny, man. I mean, he just never stops.
Marcus is our math whiz over here. I don't know what he's on pace to get as far as rushing touchdowns. He's already got 16 through 3 games. I don't know what that calculates to. But
16 through 3 games.
He's 172 yards shy of 1,000 already.
Really, if he keeps at that pace. I mean, it's just in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, you really,
But Mesher's performance for Salado last week vaulted him up to second on our rushing list, and I think Daniel's got some of those. We haven't done this yet this season, so we can go over our stat leaders
stats.
3 weeks.
We need like an intro song for the stats.
We do. Do. I don't know. We'll figure.
You just took Sports Centers.
That is
wow.
Don't
copyright.
All right, guys. So, our area rushing leaders through 3 games so far, if you can believe it or not. Zach Rabachik out of Troy, he's got 828 yards, 16 touchdowns. That's pretty phenomenal, honestly. Noah Mesher, his big performance for Salado last week, 612 yards, 8 touchdowns on the season.
He played defense last year.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Warren, the junior out of Gerald, he's got 540 yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. Reed Vincent, another guy for that Salado rushing attack, 399 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Cameron Valdez out of Rockdale, he gets a lot of attention, 341 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. And then a nice surprise, Levante Davis out of Bartlett. He's a senior this year, really a big part of their win 2 weeks ago. He has got 322 yards on the season and a trio of touchdown scores. So those are your area rushing leaders through 3 weeks.
And interesting, the next 4 on that list as we go down are all quarterbacks. Jamarcus Johnson, Rosebud Lott, Thomas Rhodes, Ranger, Aiden Tomasek at Holland, and Trapper Enser at Bruce Valetti. But
we got a lot of guys who can throw and pass, so it's been some good dual threat guys out there. And speaking of quarterbacks, your top area passers so far this year, Zane Zeinert out of Cameron Yo, he's got 610 yards passing, 6 touchdowns on the year. As mentioned, Trapper Enser out of Bruce Valetti, 545 yards and a pair of touchdown throws. Jerry Cephas from Academy, 542 yards, 5 touchdowns, and as Marcus has already alluded to, next week he might be the top area passer, so we'll have to see how that works out. New quarterback over there at Rockdale, Kobe Mitchell, he settled nicely into his new role, 474 yards on the year, 6 touchdowns through 6 games. Jamarcus Johnson, the freshman out of Rosebud Lot, he's really performed well for only having 3 varsity games under his belt. 452 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And then to wrap up, we got Luke Mullins out of Gatesville, 428 yards and 4 touchdowns for the Hornets.
Turning the pages.
Getting
to the next.
See, that's our
turning.
That's our jingle. Turning the pages. All right, and then let's see. So we'll start by the leading receptions in the area. So
number of receptions.
Number of receptions. There you go. Levi LaFavors over at Bruce Villetti. He's got 21 catches on the year. Keyshawn Raven out of Rockdale with 16. Zachorian Spikes out of Cameron Yo, 15. Jordan Landrum from Rosebud Lots got 13. The senior Johnny Ryder from Granger's got 13. Carson. I'm going to need some help with that last name. How do you say that? Brizendine, possibly?
That sounds right.
Possibly out of Gatesville with 12 receptions. And then Jalen McWilliams kind of does it all for the Bees from Academy with 12 catches.
And that Jordan Landrum kid last week, he had like 3 or 4 interceptions. I don't know, he had multiple.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, he had all sorts of numbers.
And like 2 of those went back for touchdowns. So yeah, he had a whale of a game.
Yeah, McWilliams last week, he caught a touchdown pass. He recovered a fumble out of the air and ran it in for a touchdown on offense, and then had those 2 pick-6 touchdowns.
Yeah, I saw the video of that. That was actually pretty great. You talk about being in the right place at the right time. Yeah,
Pop right up to him.
Yeah, that went out on like. I guess it was Huddle.
I think it was.
Twitter's.
Yeah, it was out in the Twitter sphere. Oh yes, and then your area leaders in
Yardage.
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 See, that's Josh. Josh just needs to be the one to do this.
No way, man.
So Zachorian Spikes from Cameron Yo has 317 yards receiving. Jordan Landrum, as mentioned, from Rosebud Lot, 283. Breon Lewis from Rosebud Lot as well, 260 yards. Anthony Dansby, the big tight end, I think, from Rockdale, 225 yards on just 8 catches, and he's got 3 touchdowns on the season, so he's making the most out of his touches. Keyshawn Raven, the quick wide receiver from Rockdale, he's got 16 catches for 209 yards. Carson Brizendine, again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that.
He's not listening.
But his grandma might be. You know, we get all the grandmas, so we love the grandmas. Out of Gatesville, he's got 198 yards. Levi LaFavors from Bruce Villetti, 194 yards. And we'll wrap up with Darion Franklin out of Academy with 190 yards.
Sweet.
You know, I'm looking at this and kind of impressed with LaFavors having 21 receptions on the year, but what kind of stands out is 21 receptions without a touchdown.
That is different. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, everybody else on that list has at least one score, and you think 21 times, at least one of those you'd end up in the end zone.
And that's not bad. 21 for 194.
No.
That's almost that's almost a first down every time. Yeah. So, but yeah, no touchdown. So it's not like they're just dropping it off to him for 3 or 4 yards here or there. But yeah, it's different.
Maybe maybe when you need like 5 or 6 yards, you go to him. Type of deal, get you the first down.
It's not like me. They pass it to me. I just try to go out of bounds immediately.
Well, when they pass it to me, I look at the quarterback and go, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm way up here in the press box.
What a throw. The accuracy.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm on deadline, man.
This. Did you sanitize this?
Right? Yeah, throw it back.
Throw it back. We're off the rails.
Good times. I'm going to tweet this week that Marcus talked too much. So
yeah, we'll have to adjust this in editing.
Yeah, you'll need to keep it quiet.
There's no editing involved in this.
Yeah, I think our listeners know that, all 3 of them.
Yeah, I haven't even. Yeah. Well, let's see what else as we pretend to look through things. Anything else?
Let's see.
We have our final high school football team previews coming up in Saturday and Sunday editions. Belton and Holy Trinity Catholic in Saturday's edition of the Temple Daily Telegram, and Sundays we'll have Temple and Central Texas Christian.
Real quick, from you've talked to Coach Stewart over there at Temple, what is there anything that Temple's really going to try to focus on or try to figure out in their scrimmage on Thursday?
They're going to try to figure out how to play football.
That's a good start.
Like everyone in a scrimmage.
That's true.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to iron out some of those vacancies that they have. They're going to test their kids, because nobody has hit anybody really all that much since November.
It's been a minute.
Spring football was canceled, obviously, back in May,
right.
And that's a time where teams and Temple specifically, they will go all out in that spring scrimmage. I mean, it's
right.
Full contact. We're hitting people. We're testing our physical abilities there. So I expect that for sure in this scrimmage against College Station. I mean, Temple and head coach Scott Stewart's going to want to see his kids, see what they got. They'll look at a couple quarterbacks. They're going to figure out receivers. They're going to look at everything.
Right.
Nothing is given going into the season. But I think the main thing is just competition against somebody else.
Just smacking somebody else.
Going out there against somebody. Yeah.
Cool.
Did you want me to throw that question back to you as far as Belton is concerned?
You don't have to, but since you were nice enough to ask,
they're going to try to learn how to play.
They're going to try to play some football. I think there might be some passes and some runs, might be some contact, but no. I mean, talking to Sniffen, he pretty much just said, his first year there, nothing, like you said, is given. Everything has to be earned. He can pretty much guarantee that there's just like maybe 2 guys that he knows for sure is going to be the season opening starter at certain positions, but other than that, all these guys have another week to kind of prove themselves. So, you're going to see who performs, who comes to play, and if they had to choose one side of the ball to focus on, I would think it would be the defense. Defense struggled last year, so that's been kind of a big emphasis for Belton since day one. So we'll see how it goes, and man, it's gonna be weird to see a somewhat actual football game for the first time for Belton and Temple, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen.
Yes.
Where have you been going, man?
Have you had your eyes closed?
I just got lucky with the stats.
But I do expect or anticipate kind of almost a game day atmosphere, even though it's a scrimmage. I feel like the energy level is going to be way up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be some serious adrenaline going between both those teams. The fans who are able to make it in, it'll be limited, but I mean, they're going to be fired up as well.
Because not only have they not played since last year, but they've had to watch some of these 3A, 2A, 1A, 4A schools that have been playing, and they'll be like, when is our chance coming? When do we get to play?
Yeah.
So it gets you even hungrier because you're watching football. Teams are playing. You watch a couple of NFL games, some college games that are actually starting to get going now in full force, hopefully. Now that the Big Ten is going to start playing again.
Now you're just bringing up other topics that
It's all football.
Oh, okay.
It's all football. I mean, we can talk some volleyball.
You want to talk volleyball?
Not really. But yeah, I mean, these guys. Yeah, I mean, you're watching football this long and not getting to play for over a year, not getting to contact anybody. Yeah, you're right. It probably will be a big time experience, big time atmosphere.
It's going to be loud. It's going to be intense. I mean, which is great, and we need it, or they need it.
We're good either way, but
yeah. As long as I don't get hit by a wayward pass, everything will be okay.
Yes. Throw it back. The ball's not sanitized.
Yeah. Escort me out.
Well,
oh man.
Thanks for sticking around if you're still with us at this point.
Hopefully you're not. I mean, it's better that way.
Great sell, man. Great sell.
All right. Come back next week.
See ya.
Bye.